Cowboys and wolves, both the stuff of legends. One a centerpiece of the wild, wild west, riding horses, wrangling cattle, an icon of Western America. The other, a creature of folklore and myth, but equally iconic on America's landscapes. In Colorado, these two are learning to share the landscape again, and it begs the question, can horses save wolves? But before we answer this question, let's learn how wolves ended up in Colorado in the first place, with Rockies and Plains representative Kaitie Schneider.
Wolves were native to Colorado and most of the West. They were extirpated out of this state in the early 1900s, along with a lot of carnivores in a lot of states. And so they were absent in Colorado for a long time until wolves were reintroduced to the Northern Rockies, into Yellowstone and Idaho. We started to see a couple trickle down into the state, but it's really, really hard for a wolf to get through Wyoming. And so in 2020, Colorado voters were asked, is it a priority for Colorado Parks and Wildlife to reintroduce wolves? And the public said yes.
And in December of 2023, the first 5 gray wolves came over from Oregon and were released on state-owned lands. Reintroducing this critical carnivore helps keep our ecosystem strong. They keep elk and deer populations in check, and carcasses of their kills redistribute nutrients and provides food to other wildlife. But bringing back a predator in a land of cows and sheep is not without its problems.
Most of the producers that I work with and have talked to acknowledge that wolves have a place on the landscape just like any other native species.
So, how do they work together?
We're definitely seeing this uptake of ranchers who are interested in being proactive and wanting to put tools and strategies in place to minimize any conflict between wolves and their livestock. Tools are gadgets and gizmos that we use to deter wolves away from an area. So think lights, sounds. We use a type of temporary electric fencing called turboflagry that have these flags that scare wolves away from an area. But those tools are only really effective for as long as the wolf doesn't know what it is. And so those can only be used for a limited amount of time, certain times of year, and in limited spaces. But when we go on to grazing season, that's when we get into larger landscapes where deterrent tools aren't as effective. And so that's when we especially start thinking about strategies that we can work into an operation that present like a longer term and more sustainable way to reduce that conflict or minimize that conflict. So range riding can kind of fall there. It's a little bit of a gray zone because it's a person actually doing stuff.
I became interested in range riding. I was at a informational wolf meeting where I currently reside, and I heard the topic come up about range riding, and it was like music to my ears.
Christina Vander Berg is a range rider with Defenders of Wildlife. She also works in emergency services, fire investigations, as a beef producer, and a rodeo judge. Truly a Jane of all trades.
It combined 2 worlds for me, my investigative side as well as my desire to ride horses in the mountains, plus looking after livestock, advocating for fellow ranchers, supporting nonprofits that believe in not only wildlife but agriculture. So a normal day of range riding, it really just depends, not only on the weather but the terrain. It's about mostly being out on the landscape, having a presence. From June 1st to October 31st, I rode almost daily. I used my investigative skill sets to gather information, document sign and tracks, capture actual patterns and trends. In that time frame while I was out on the landscape, I checked livestock, observed wildlife, fenced gates, accesses, things that might be obstacles if I needed to get to an area in the future. I glassed the landscape, used my hunting skills, as well as set and checked up and gathered data and relocated cameras.
So they could actually be out handling livestock, moving them through different pastures, building fence, fixing fence, some of those traditional ranching tasks, all the way to things more on those wildlife skills like setting up trail cameras, identifying wildlife and track and sign, understanding the patterns of the different types of wildlife in the area, not only the carnivores, but the things carnivores like to eat, and how the livestock and the wildlife, how they're behaving around one another. And when we have a lot of that information, we can notice when changes start to happen. And so range riders are really like another set of eyes and ears on an operation. And so just having that information gathering is really helpful. But wolves are also pretty wary of people in general. And so just having that increased human presence also in itself helps deter wolves away from livestock.
Something Christina didn't expect, though, the people. how much range riding meant interfacing with the people of the land, talking about her work, and being a reliable source of information.
Felt that like I was going to be on my own and in the woods and never really like interacting with people. But to be honest with you, you interface a lot, even in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, whether it's the hunters or, you know, the ranchers, to an array of just even people I had to give directions to. I really tried to find the silver lining and the opportunities in this to educate and promote what I was doing. I worked with ranchers that felt good about me collaborating with not only the public, but other interested parties. But I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you. I didn't go into range riding to educate. I went into range riding to be a part of the bigger picture.
So, can horses save wolves?
I don't know how to answer this because they don't. So horses themselves aren't necessarily saving wolves, but the people riding them, the people bringing them out and committing to these projects are, in a way. And if we can help get more range riders on the landscape, help get these people out that are, again, coming to the table in a way where we can collaborate together and find ways for livestock and wolves to all be out there on this shared landscape, in the long run, that saves wolves.
I think that what I have come to learn in this whole process is that incredible things can happen when people keep an open mind and are willing to sit down at the table to collaborate together. You know, I didn't think that all of these parties would be able to do it easily, but what I found is that if everybody actively listens, if everybody feels comfortable to be able to express where they're at, and then supports the sharing of others, that a lot of great things can be done and accomplished. Big things can happen when you keep your mind open and when you're willing to participate.